The morning sun rose over New Hope Colony like it had for the past 12 years. Golden light spread across green fields where human children played with their alien friends. The air smelled of fresh flowers and home-cooked meals. Nobody knew this would be their last peaceful day. Commander Sarah Chen stood on her balcony, drinking coffee and watching the town wake up. Below her, the main street filled with people heading to work. Human farmers walked beside tall, gentle aliens called Zephyrians. Their blue skins sparkled in the sunlight, and their kind eyes always showed friendship. Another beautiful day, Sarah said to herself. She had been the colony's defense coordinator for 8 years. Her job was mostly boring, checking supply ships, updating safety reports, and making sure everyone followed the peace treaties. New Hope Colony had never seen real danger. Down in the town square, Dr. Marcus Webb was teaching Zephyrian children how to use human medical tools. The young aliens crowded around his table, their forearms moving carefully as they practiced bandaging techniques. "Remember," Dr. Webb said in his patient voice, "healing is about more than just medicine. It's about caring for each other." A small Zephyrian girl named Zara raised her hand. "Dr. Webb, why do humans share their knowledge with us?" The doctor smiled. "Because that's what friends do, Zara. We learn from each other." Across the colony, human engineers worked with Zephyrian builders to construct a new school. The building would teach both human and alien children together. Captain Tom Rodriguez, the colony's head engineer, wiped sweat from his forehead as he watched the work. "This school will stand for 100 years, Tom told his Zephyrian partner Keith. "Our children's children will learn here together." Keth's large eyes glowed with happiness. "Humans build with such care," he said. "Your people think about the future, not just today." In the farming district, Maria Santos was showing Zephyrian farmers new techniques to grow food faster. Her family had been farmers for generations on Earth. Now, on this new world, she shared her knowledge freely. "The secret is in the soil," Maria explained, holding up rich, dark earth. "Treat the land well, and it will feed your families for centuries." The Zephyrian farmers listened carefully. Their old methods were good, but human techniques could help them grow twice as much food. Maria never asked for payment. She just wanted everyone to eat well. At the colony's communication center, Lieutenant James Park was sending the weekly report to Earth. His message was the same as always. New Hope Colony, week 628. Population, 50,000 humans, 75,000 Zephyrians living in harmony. No conflicts to report. Trade agreements working perfectly. Recommend continued peaceful expansion. James never knew these reports made Earth's leaders proud. Humans could live peacefully with other species. New Hope Colony was proof that the galaxy could be a place of friendship, not war. But far away in the cold darkness of space, something watched New Hope Colony through powerful telescopes. The watchers had been studying the colony for months. They saw the green fields, the happy children, and the valuable resources hidden beneath the planet's surface. The Watchers called themselves the Vex High Empire. They were not interested in friendship. They were hunters, and they had found their next prize. Admiral Thrak stood on the bridge of his massive warship. His dark eyes studied the images of New Hope Colony. Around him, his officers prepared for battle. "How many ships guard this world?" Thrak asked. "3 small defense vessels," his tactical officer reported. "Their weapons are designed for asteroids and space debris, not war." Thrak laughed, a cold sound that echoed through the bridge. "They have no idea what real power looks like. This will be easy." Back on New Hope Colony, Sarah Chen was finishing her evening patrol. The town was quiet now. Families were having dinner together. Children were doing homework. Everything was peaceful and normal. Sarah looked up at the stars and smiled. Space was so vast and beautiful. Somewhere out there, other colonies were probably just like New Hope, peaceful places where different species learned to live together. She had no idea that those same stars hid a fleet of warships moving toward her world. In the colony's early warning station, the night shift officer, Corporal Lisa Wong, was reading a book. Her job was to watch for incoming ships and space weather. Most nights, nothing happened. At 11:47 p.m., her computer made a soft beeping sound. Lisa looked at her screen and saw dots appearing at the edge of the solar system. Big dots, moving fast. Probably a supply convoy, she thought. But something felt wrong. The ships were too big and there were too many of them. Lisa tried to contact the ships using standard peaceful greeting protocols. No response. She tried emergency frequencies. Still nothing. The dots kept getting bigger, and there were more of them now. 50 ships. 100. 200. Lisa's hands started shaking as she reached for the colony-wide alarm button. This was not a supply convoy. This was something else entirely. Something terrible was coming to New Hope Colony. The colony-wide alarm screamed through the night air like a wounded animal. Sarah Chen jumped from her bed, her heart pounding as the red emergency lights flashed through her window. In 12 years, this alarm had never sounded for real danger. "All defense personnel to stations immediately," her communicator crackled. "This is not a drill. Unknown fleet approaching New Hope Colony." Sarah ran to the command center, still pulling on her uniform. The hallways filled with confused colonists, families holding their children, asking what was happening. Sarah wished she had answers. At the command center, chaos ruled. Officers shouted reports while screens showed the approaching fleet. 200 massive ships, each 10 times bigger than New Hope's small defense vessels. "Have they responded to our communications?" Sarah asked. Lieutenant James Park shook his head, fear in his eyes. "Nothing, Commander. We've tried every frequency, every language in our database. They're not talking." Captain Tom Rodriguez burst through the door. "Sarah, my senses show these ships carry enough firepower to destroy a planet. What do they want?" Before Sarah could answer, the screens lit up with incoming transmissions. Not from the alien fleet, but from New Hope's 3 defense ships moving to intercept the threat. "This is Captain Harris aboard the Defender," came the voice from space. "Unknown vessels, you are approaching a peaceful colony. Please state your intentions." The alien ships responded with action, not words. Green energy beams lanced out from their weapons, striking the Defender. The small human ship exploded instantly, its crew of 47 vaporized in seconds. "Dear God," whispered Dr. Webb, who had arrived at the command center. "They just murdered Captain Harris and his crew." The remaining 2 defense ships, Hope's Light and New Dawn, tried to fight back. Their mining lasers and asteroid deflectors were never meant for war. The alien weapons cut through them like paper. In less than 3 minutes, all of New Hope's defenders were dead. Sarah grabbed the colony-wide communication system. "All citizens, this is Commander Chen. We are under attack by hostile forces. Proceed immediately to emergency shelters." This is not a drill, but it was too late for shelters. The alien fleet, which Sarah would later learn belonged to the Vexhai Empire, began orbital bombardment. Green death rained from the sky as energy beams struck the colony's power stations, hospitals, and schools. The beautiful town square where Dr. Webb had taught alien children just hours ago became a crater of melted metal and burning debris. The new school that Captain Rodriguez had built with such care disappeared in a flash of green light. Maria Santos was trying to evacuate the farming district when the beams struck the grain silos. Explosions threw her to the ground as burning crops filled the air with smoke. Her Zephyrian friends tried to help her, but more energy beams cut them down. "Why?" she screamed at the sky as alien ships descended through the smoke. "We never hurt anyone." The Vexhai ground forces landed like metal locusts. Their soldiers wore black armor and carried weapons that turned living beings to ash. But they didn't just kill quickly. They hunted. Admiral Thrak watched from his flagship as his forces spread through the colony. His tactical officer reported their progress with cold efficiency. Sector 7 secured, resistance eliminated. Beginning resource extraction operations. "What about survivors?" Thrak asked. "We're following standard protocol, Admiral. Hunt them down slowly. Fear makes the final moments more entertaining." Down in the colony, families huddled in basements and emergency bunkers, listening to the sounds of death above them. The Vexhai soldiers had heat sensors and ground-penetrating radar. Hiding was impossible. Sarah Chen found herself trapped in a medical bunker with Dr. Webb, 30 colonists, and a dozen Zephyrian children. The aliens' innocent eyes looked to the humans for protection that couldn't be given. "Commander," young Zara whispered, "why are the bad aliens hurting us? We were friends with everyone." Sarah held the child close, tears streaming down her face. "I don't know, sweetheart. Some beings are just evil." The bunker door exploded inward. Vexhai soldiers poured through, their weapons glowing with deadly energy. Dr. Webb stepped forward, hands raised. "Please," he said. "These are children. They've done nothing wrong." The lead soldier tilted his head, studying the humans with cold interest. Then he spoke in perfect English. "Wrong place, wrong species, wrong day to be alive." The energy weapons discharged. Sarah watched in horror as Dr. Webb, the gentleman who had spent years healing others, was burned alive. The Zephyrian children screamed as the soldiers turned their weapons on them next. But something unexpected happened. As Sarah waited for death, explosions echoed from above. The HFY soldiers looked confused, talking rapidly in their alien language. "Emergency evacuation protocol," one soldier said in English. "Humans launching escape pods." Through the chaos, Sarah realized that some colonists had reached the emergency launch bays. A few might escape. A few might survive to tell Earth what happened here. The lead soldier turned his weapon towards Sarah. "You will die knowing your species is weak," he said. "We have destroyed 30 civilizations before yours. You are nothing special." As the weapon charged with deadly energy, Sarah's last thought was not of her own death, but of the message that might reach Earth. Someone had to know. Someone had to remember New Hope Colony. Someone had to make these monsters pay. The bunker filled with green light, and Sarah Chen's world ended in pain. 8 months after New Hope Colony died, Earth's Deep Space Monitoring Station picked up a weak signal from the darkness between stars. The night shift operator, Sergeant Mike Williams, almost missed it. The transmission was so faint, so broken, that his computer flagged it as space static. But something made Mike listen closer. "This is Commander Sarah Chen, New Hope Colony emergency log, final transmission." The voice cracked with pain and exhaustion. They came without warning. No negotiations, no mercy. 50,000 people, all dead. Mike's coffee cup fell from his hands, shattering on the floor. His shaking fingers reached for the emergency alert button that connected directly to Earth's military command. They called themselves HFY Empire, hunted our children like animals, burned everything. Everyone I loved is gone. Sarah's voice faded in and out. "If anyone receives this, tell Earth. Tell them what happened here. Make them pay." The transmission cut to static. Within minutes, every military leader on Earth was awake. Admiral Rebecca Stone, head of Earth's Colonial Defense Force, stood in the emergency briefing room at 3 a.m., watching the faces of Earth's most powerful people turn pale with rage. "Play it again," ordered President Martinez, his voice tight with controlled fury. They listened to Sarah Chen's dying words 5 times. With each replay, the temperature in the room seemed to drop. These were people who had spent their lives keeping humanity safe. Now they had failed completely. "How many survivors?" asked General Thompson, Earth's top military strategist. "Unknown," Admiral Stone replied. "Long-range sensors detected debris consistent with escape pods, but we won't know more until rescue ships arrive." "How long to reach New Hope Colony?" "Our fastest ships will take 6 months." President Martinez slammed his fist on the table. 6 months? Our people could be dying right now, and we can't reach them for half a year." The room fell silent. Everyone knew the truth. Space was vast, and even Earth's most advanced ships needed time to cross the distances between stars. 3 days later, the rescue fleet returned with news that broke hearts across Earth. They found New Hope Colony burned to ash. The beautiful towns were craters. The farms were poisoned wastelands. The schools where human and alien children had learned together were piles of melted metal. But they also found survivors. 153 people had escaped in emergency pods. They were the only witnesses to what the HFY Empire had done. Their leader was Lieutenant James Park, who had somehow survived when the command center collapsed. James stood before the Earth Assembly, his face scarred from burns, his voice shaking with trauma and rage. Behind him, holographic images showed the destruction of New Hope Colony. "They didn't want our resources," James said, his words echoing through the assembly hall. "They didn't want our land. They killed us for sport. They laughed while they murdered children." The assembly members, representatives from every nation on Earth, listened in stunned silence as James described the massacre. He told them about Dr. Webb trying to protect alien children. He told them about Maria Santos dying while trying to save her crops. He told them about Commander Chen's final stand. The HFY soldier told Commander Chen that they had destroyed 30 civilizations before us. James continued, 30 worlds full of innocent people, and they're still out there looking for their next victims. President Martinez stood up, his face pale but determined. Lieutenant Park, you have Earth's word. This crime will not go unpunished. But Admiral Stone had already been investigating. Her intelligence officers had spent weeks analyzing the HFY ships captured in surveillance footage. What they found was terrifying. The HFY Empire controls over 200 star systems, she reported to the emergency session. Their military has over 50,000 warships. Their technology is centuries ahead of ours in some areas. The numbers were overwhelming. Earth had 47 colonies scattered across space, with a total population of 12 billion humans. The HFY Empire was massive, powerful, and utterly ruthless. So what do we do? Asked General Thompson. Do we hide? Do we run? Do we abandon our colonies and hope they don't find Earth? President Martinez looked around the room at Earth's leaders. These were people who had guided humanity to the stars, who had built a peaceful civilization among alien worlds. Now they faced their greatest test. No, the president said quietly. We don't run. We don't hide. We do what humans have always done when monsters threaten our families. He turned to Admiral Stone. Rebecca, I want you to activate Project Nemesis. The room went dead silent. Project Nemesis was Earth's most classified military program. For 50 years, in absolute secrecy, Earth's best scientists and engineers had been building something that violated every peace treaty humanity had ever signed. Admiral Stone smiled grimly. Mr. President, Project Nemesis has been ready for 10 years. We have 500 warships hidden in deep space, equipped with weapons that make the HFY look like children with toys. Why? Asked General Thompson. Why did we build such a fleet in secret? President Martinez looked at the images of destroyed New Hope colony, at the faces of traumatized survivors, at the data showing 30 murdered civilizations. Because we knew, he said, somewhere in our hearts, we knew that peace wouldn't last forever. We knew that someday we'd meet monsters who only understand one language. He stood up, his voice carrying the weight of 12 billion human souls. Send a message to the HFY Empire. Tell them they have 24 hours to surrender the beings responsible for New Hope Colony. Tell them that if they refuse, they will learn why humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy when their children are threatened. Admiral Stone saluted. And if they don't respond, sir? President Martinez's eyes turned cold as space itself. Then we show them what Earth's vengeance looks like. The HFY High Command received Earth's message while they were celebrating their latest conquest. Admiral Thrak, the butcher of New Hope Colony, was drinking victory wine when his communication officer brought him the human transmission. What is this? Thrak asked, reading the message on his screen. Humans, the weak species from that farming world. Supreme Commander Vexmore, leader of the entire HFY Empire, laughed until his sides hurt. Around the command table, other admirals joined in the laughter. The idea of humans threatening them was the funniest thing they had heard in years. 24 hours to surrender? Vexmore wiped tears from his eyes. These primitives think they can threaten us? We who have conquered 200 worlds? Sir, the communication officer said nervously, should we respond to their message? Vexmore waved his hand dismissively. Ignore them. Continue our harvesting operations on their other colonies. When we're finished stripping their worlds, we'll visit their home planet and show them what real power looks like. The laughter echoed through the command ship as the HFY returned to their celebrations. They had no idea that death was already coming for them. 24 hours and 1 minute after the ultimatum expired, the HFY outpost at Kepler 88 simply vanished. The outpost had been home to 12,000 HFY soldiers and 30 warships. It was their forward base for raiding human colonies. At 800 hours, everything was normal. At 801 hours, there was nothing left but empty space and debris. What happened? Supreme Commander Vexmore demanded when the news reached him. How does an entire base disappear? His intelligence officer, Admiral Kethvar, studied the sensor data with growing confusion. Sir, there are no signs of weapons fire, no explosion signatures. The base just stopped existing. That's impossible. What about the warning sensors? What about the patrol ships? Sir, Kethvar's voice shook slightly. The patrol ships are gone too. All 30 ships, 1,200 crew members, no distress signals, no wreckage. Nothing. For the first time in his long military career, Vexmore felt a cold touch of fear. The second attack came 6 hours later. The Vex-High mining operation at Wolf 359 sent out a routine status report. Then silence. When reinforcements arrived 3 days later, they found the mining ships floating dead in space. No crew aboard, no signs of battle, just empty ships drifting like ghosts. But this time they found something else. A message burned into the hull of the command ship in perfect Vex-High script. Remember New Hope Colony. Admiral Thrak was no longer laughing. He stood in his war room, studying reports from across the Empire. 7 outposts had been hit in the past week. No survivors, no witnesses, no traces of the attackers. It's impossible, Thrak muttered. No one can strike so precisely, so silently. We have the best sensors in the galaxy. His tactical officer, Captain Zethel, brought more bad news. Admiral, we're receiving surrender requests from 12 of our colonies. They say they don't want to fight the Silent Death. Silent Death. That's what our people are calling them, sir. The humans. They appear, destroy everything and vanish without a trace. Our colonies are terrified. Thrak slammed his fist on the table. Humans are supposed to be weak. We slaughtered them like animals on that farming world. Sir, Captain Zethel said quietly, perhaps we made a mistake. Perhaps we attacked the wrong species. Meanwhile, in Earth's secret command center, Admiral Stone watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. Red dots marked successful strikes against Vex-High targets. Each dot represented justice for New Hope Colony. Status report, she ordered. Captain Harris, nephew of the captain who died defending New Hope, stepped forward. Ma'am, all 20 strike groups are in position. We've eliminated 15% of their forward bases with 0 casualties on our side. And their response? Panic, Admiral. They're pulling back from frontier positions. Several Vex-High colonies have attempted to contact us directly to negotiate surrender. Admiral Stone studied the star map. Red lines showed Vex-High territory, a vast empire that had seemed impossible to defeat just weeks ago. Blue lines showed Earth's strike groups moving like surgical knives through enemy space. They still don't understand, she said. They think this is about military conquest. They don't realize this is about justice. Earth's warships were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. 50 years of secret development had created vessels that could bend light around themselves, becoming completely invisible. Their weapons didn't use energy or projectiles. They manipulated matter at the quantum level, making enemy ships simply cease to exist. But the real weapon wasn't technology. It was human psychology. Captain Rodriguez, son of the engineer who died at New Hope, commanded Strike Group 7. His ships had just eliminated a Vex-High supply depot without firing a shot. As his fleet prepared to jump to their next target, he recorded a message for Earth Command. Admiral Stone, this is Strike Group 7, target eliminated. No survivors as ordered. We found data logs showing this depot supplied the fleet that attacked New Hope. Justice has been served. He paused, looking at the stars where 12,000 Vex-High had lived and worked just hours ago. Ma'am, I want you to know every human in this fleet volunteered for this mission. We're not soldiers. We're Avengers, and we won't stop until every being responsible for New Hope is dead. Back on the Vex-High homeworld, Supreme Commander Vexmore received the latest reports. 37 bases destroyed. No human ships detected. No battle damage on his remaining forces. His enemies were ghosts who struck without warning and left only death behind. His hands shook as he sent new orders to his fleet commanders. All forces return to home system immediately. Defensive positions around the homeworld. We are under attack by an unknown human force. But as his message went out across the Empire, another message was already spreading faster, broadcast on every Vex-High communication frequency. This is Earth Fleet Command. We are broadcasting the images from New Hope Colony. Look at what your Empire did to our children. Look at what your soldiers did to innocents who offered only friendship. This is why we come for you. This is why you will all die. Remember New Hope Colony. The hunt was just beginning. The Vex-High homeworld of Vex-Thara had never seen such a gathering of warships. 1,200 massive battlecruisers surrounded the planet like steel vultures. Supreme Commander Vexmore stood on his flagship's bridge, watching his Empire's greatest fleet prepare for the final battle. They're coming, his sensor officer reported. "Human ships detected at the edge of our system." Vexmore smiled coldly. "How many?" 200 ships, sir. Same size as their previous strike forces. Excellent. They've finally made a mistake. They're outnumbered 6-1. Vexmore opened communications to his entire fleet. "All ships prepare for battle. Today we crush the humans once and for all." But Admiral Rebecca Stone, commanding the Earth fleet from her flagship Vengeance, wasn't worried about the numbers. She stood in her command center, surrounded by holographic displays showing the massive Vex-High fleet. "Admiral," Captain Thompson said, "they have us outnumbered badly. Are you sure about this plan?" Stone looked at the memorial wall displaying images of New Hope Colony's victims. Dr. Webb's kind face smiled back at her. Commander Chen's determined eyes reminded her why they were here. "Captain, send a message to all ships," she ordered. "Remember New Hope, remember the children. Today, we show the galaxy what happens when you murder human families." The Vex-High fleet moved first, confident in their superior numbers. Green energy beams lanced through space, targeting the human ships. But the beams passed through empty space. The Earth vessels had vanished like ghosts. "Where did they go?" Vexmore screamed. "Find them!" His answer came in the form of invisible death. Human ships, cloaked and undetectable, appeared among the Vex-High fleet like sharks among fish. Quantum weapons fired silently, and Vex-High ships simply ceased to exist. Not destroyed, but unmade at the molecular level. In minutes, 300 Vex-High ships vanished into nothingness. "Impossible!" Admiral Thrak shouted from his command ship. "Our sensors show nothing." "How are they doing this?" Captain Rodriguez, commanding the strike ship Justice, targeted Thrak's vessel personally. "This is for New Hope Colony, you monster," he whispered as his quantum cannons charged. Thrak's ship, the same one that had led the massacre of New Hope, dissolved into subatomic particles. The butcher who had laughed while burning human children was gone forever. But Admiral Stone had saved the worst for last. "Phase 2, she commanded. "Activate Project Ragnarok." Deep in space, hidden human vessels began their real work. Not weapons designed to kill ships, but weapons designed to kill stars themselves. Quantum manipulators reached out toward Vex-Thara's sun, beginning a process that would make the star unstable. Supreme Commander Vexmore watched his fleet die around him. Of 1,200 ships, only 200 remained, and those were being hunted by invisible predators. "Retreat!" he ordered. "All ships escape to hyperspace." But as his ships tried to flee, they found their hyperspace engines failing. Human technology was jamming their escape routes. There would be no running from justice. Admiral Stone opened a communication channel to the entire Vex-High fleet. Her voice echoed through every surviving enemy ship. "I am Admiral Rebecca Stone of the Earth Defense Force. You are the beings who destroyed New Hope Colony. You murdered 50,000 innocent people, including children who had never harmed anyone. You hunted families for sport. You burned hospitals and schools. Today you pay for those crimes." Vexmore's face appeared on her screen, no longer confident but desperate. "Please, we surrender. We'll give you anything you want." Stone's expression didn't change. "You had your chance to surrender. You laughed at our ultimatum. You continued killing our people. Now you face Earth's justice, but our home world. There are 40 billion civilians down there. The same civilians who cheered when your armies brought back trophies from massacred worlds," Stone replied coldly. "The same people who celebrated the destruction of 30 civilizations. Did you show mercy to their children?" She turned to her weapons officer. "Fire!" The quantum star killers activated fully. Deep within Vex-Thara's sun, fundamental forces began to collapse. The star's fusion process became unstable, building toward a nova that would consume the entire system. "You have 72 hours, Stone announced to the dying Vex-High fleet. "That's how long before your star explodes. Use that time to evacuate who you can. Use it to remember that this is what happens when you touch our children." Panic spread through the Vex-High fleet. Ships that weren't already destroyed broke formation, racing toward the planet to begin emergency evacuations. But 72 hours wasn't enough time to save 40 billion people. As the human fleet prepared to depart, Admiral Stone sent one final message, not just to the Vex-High, but broadcast across the galaxy on every frequency. "This is Admiral Rebecca Stone, speaking for all humanity. Today, the Vexi Empire dies for their crimes against New Hope Colony. Let this be a lesson to every species in the galaxy. Humans prefer peace. We want to be your friends, your teachers, your partners in building a better universe. She paused, looking one last time at the doomed star system. But if you threaten our families, if you harm our children, if you mistake our kindness for weakness, then you will discover that humans are very, very good at war. And we never forget our dead. The Earth fleet vanished into hyperspace, leaving the Vexi system to its fate. 72 hours later, Vexithara's star exploded in a burst of nuclear fire that lit up the galaxy. The Vexi homeworld died screaming, taking with it the empire that had murdered 30 civilizations. Only 12 million Vexi escaped in the evacuation ships. They scattered across the galaxy, telling anyone who would listen the same terrified message. Never attack the humans. Never threaten their children. They are not the peaceful farmers we thought. They are monsters when their families are hurt. But on Earth, in the memorial built on New Hope Colony's ruins, a simple message was carved in stone. Here lived 50,000 souls who wanted only peace. Here began the day the galaxy learned that human children are protected by human warriors. Never again. The universe was a safer place, and Earth's children could sleep soundly, knowing that monsters who threatened families would face justice among the stars.